Hi, everybody. Okay. I'm just not going to lie. This is not a good day. And I'm not talking about for me personally. Yesterday was not a good day for me personally, but today is not a good day for the country. You all know I don't come on here and bullshit anybody, and I'm not in the game of trying to make anybody feel unreasonably optimistic. Anyway, before I do that, welcome to Resistance Live. It's the 24th of March, 2020. Thank you all for being here as always. So, just in the last hour, we've had a whole series of public events. We had a press conference from Cuomo that was nothing short of devastating. We just saw Schumer on the floor of the Senate describing where they are at the current moment on negotiations for this aid package, and Pelosi right now is on MSNBC. So let me just start with this. The Cuomo press conference this morning was gut-wrenching, I think, to say the least. The news out of that, for anybody who was not able to watch it, is this: the rate of infection right now is doubling every 3 days. Cuomo came on and said that the peak is now anticipated to be much higher and much faster than what was initially thought. That within 14 to 21 days, they're going to need an additional 30,000 ventilators in New York City, and they're going to need 131,000 additional hospital beds. It's I found myself at so many times during this press conference just not able to verbalize what I was seeing. And, I say that, but also with the understanding of the fact that this is a preview of what is coming for the rest of us. I also say it as somebody who lived in New York City for 17 years and understands the hospital system there quite well. I gave birth to both my children there at Roosevelt Hospital on the Upper West Side. Took my kids to New York Press and to Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn at various moments for emergencies. These are hospital systems that you operate at capacity all the time, and we're now in a situation where there's just an unspeakable need that is not being met. Cuomo basically was begging the federal government to invoke the Defense Production Act to make ventilators in the next 14 to 21 days. We also learned during this press conference that the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar, is sitting on 20,000 ventilators. Literally, they have a stockpile of 20,000 ventilators that they're not releasing. And I'm kind of in a position right now where I just don't know how to process this information. It's our federal government at this moment in time is literally sitting on medical equipment that could save people's lives when there is a desperate need for that medical equipment to be released, and they're not releasing it. I just literally tweeted out right before I went live, I'm going to need a mental health professional to explain to me how we're supposed to process this, that our federal government is literally letting people die. They have the capacity to save people's lives, and they're letting people die. It's just, like I said at the top of the broadcast, it's not a good day. It's not a good day. The other thing I just want to say about this is that, it's very clear that while New York is the epicenter of what is happening right now with this outbreak in the country, it is, he's not wrong that the number of cases are doubling every 3 days, and that's not any different from anywhere else. The other thing that happened this morning that you all should be aware of is that India put the entire country on a 21-day lockdown. People are not allowed to leave their homes for 3 weeks. That's 1.3 billion people are not allowed to leave their homes for the next 3 weeks. So, the state of affairs right now in this country, as reflected in what other countries are doing right now, is just appalling. And I am no fan of Prime Minister Modi. You all know that, he's a Hindu nationalist who's the degrees of anti-Muslim violence that have happened just in the last few weeks in India are shocking. He is a Trump version of India, and he has locked down in India, and he's locked down the whole country for 3 weeks. It's a lot. So let's just talk about this kind of thing that has happened in the last 24 hours of the president and his corporate lackeys suggesting that people should die so that the economy can be reopened. The Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, yesterday suggested that senior citizens would be willing to die to save the economy for future generations. I just want to say a couple of things about this. There is no direct line between the deaths of American senior citizens and a burgeoning economy. The idea somehow that if we send people back to work while the virus hasn't yet peaked, that's going to save the economy is the biggest load of horseshit. I don't even have to be an economist to tell you that. There is literally no reason to open the country right now, quote unquote. And I just want to, point out one other thing here. This whole idea that Trump can reopen the country is a fallacy. The shutdowns that have happened so far have been at the orders of governors. Trump has not ordered a nationwide shutdown like Modi did this morning in India. He hasn't done it. There's nothing for him to reopen. Like there's still, a dozen odd states that are not on lockdown yet. We have the governor of Tennessee saying he's not going to shut anything down. It's just stupid. So, at this, and the other flip side of this that I just want to point out is that a 36-year-old principal in Brooklyn died yesterday. There is a 12-year-old in Atlanta who's on a respirator. It's not like this is only impacting senior citizens. Not that that should matter anyway. You know what I mean? Like this, like the ageism of this is so horrifying to me. My parents are 73 and 78. My stepmother is 69 and immunocompromised. My mother-in-law. This whole situation, it's just the lack of morality is just so appalling. It's so appalling. I can't fathom how you would say to the American public, it's fine if we kill 2% of the population as long as our stock market buddies get their returns. Okay, so anyway, that's where we are. Let me just say this, okay? I want to encourage everyone who watches this broadcast and everyone who knows everyone who watches this broadcast to just stay the fuck home. Like, we don't have to go anywhere right now. The governors who are in charge of this right now, who are leading into the vacuum that the federal government has left, are Cuomo and Newsom and, the governor of Illinois. We've got, mayors who are really leading the charge right now in ways that are very significant. Stay home. And for everybody on this broadcast who has called for a general strike, I should just add, for years, I should just add that, we're actually in a position right now where a general strike could work. Everybody could just stay home until we beat this thing. And that actually would shut down the economy until the government was forced to do something, presumably. However, I'm also just going to say, people who aren't going to be able to make their rent and people who are concerned about being able to afford their prescriptions are justifiably worried about this in the absence of some kind of federal relief, let alone statewide relief, which we do not have in every state right now. But this is the point, okay? This is the point. The president can't force anybody to go back to work. And as long as we are rational in our response to this, as long as we are making the kinds of choices that will protect the rest of the population, that will protect the lives of the people we love, that will protect the lives of strangers because every life is valuable, we will be able to force this to be managed in particular ways. I am just going to say this, just don't leave your house. Like, don't leave your house unless you have to for groceries and medicine, and medical care. Don't leave your house. It basically is at a point right now where if we don't do that nationwide for 3 weeks, like millions of people are going to die. So it is just absolutely necessary right now that we as individuals and as humane people make that decision for ourselves and for our families. If my kids' school opened tomorrow, they're not going back to school. It's that simple. And we're all going to have to be in this together, and we're going to have to support one another. And as I've been saying for weeks now, we're going to have to find community in creative ways. But the thing that we can't do is allow this president to lead a charge of getting people back to work when literally the virus is uncontained, has not peaked, and the infection rates are doubling every 3 days. That's a recipe for just millions of deaths. All right, that's that. Okay, somebody asked me to talk about small business relief. So I'm just going to share with you what has been shared with me by my lawyer, which is this. The Small Business Administration in certain areas is providing emergency loans to small businesses who are impacted by the virus. You need to find out whether or not your state has declared an emergency such that the SBA regs apply. My lawyer, who happens actually to not be in California, sent an email out to every one of his clients saying, If you need an SBA loan, now is the moment to apply. Now, there are certain things that you have, requirements that you have to meet to be able to do that. But that is one option right now for those of you who run small businesses that are impacted. The person who asked this question is somebody who's running a spa, right? Where like, obviously you can't do hands-on spa services right now. Spas are closed, right? In many states right now. Please make sure that you are talking to your lawyer, to your accountant, to any other financial advisors that you may have about the options that may be available to you right now. Because the other thing that I will say here is that there may be in this bill that I'm going to talk about in a minute that appears to now, according to Schumer, be on the 2-yard line, some relief for small businesses. We don't know all the terms of what is being agreed to at this point. But the SBA is one place to start, and so are your regular advisors, your lawyer, your accountant, your tax professionals. There are going to be options that are available to all of us who run small businesses through federal relief. So I'm considering my options on that front right now as well, frankly, because obviously the loss of business that we've experienced at the Gaia Project for Women's Leadership through corporate programming and the like, and my public speaking and everything else is significant. So we all need to be listening to our advisors. That's the kind of big message I have there. Okay. I want to let you all know that, by the way, this whole back to work thing is being fronted by Russian trolls and bots. Please be mindful, again, before you respond to people on Twitter or Facebook or elsewhere, that a lot of this stuff is, again, being generated by the same troll farms and bot farms that have been in operation in relation to the election. The kind of like "Get America Back to Work" hashtag that is trending this morning on Twitter is overrun by bot activity. So once again, please be very mindful about what you're sharing and what your response to that. Okay, I had some questions about Fauci and Barr. So yesterday's press conference from the White House had Bill Barr there and not Dr. Fauci. Bill Barr was there to basically say that they're going to start kicking doors in, looking for toilet paper and medical supplies if people have stockpiles. That actually is not a solution to anything. Again, as said at the top of the broadcast, we are in a position right now that fundamentally requires the invocation of the Defense Production Act, or thousands of people are going to be dying in New York State and around the country within the next 2 weeks. It is not enough to say that we are going to stop people from hoarding hand sanitizer. What needs to happen right now is that the government forces business to produce ventilators and PPE, or we are going to be in a situation where our medical system completely collapses and there's going to have to be horrific choices made, like what the choices that are being made in Spain right now between who gets a ventilator and who doesn't. So that's why Barr was there. The fact that Fauci wasn't there raised a lot of eyebrows. And I'm going to just say this. Fauci gave an interview over the weekend to a science journal that made it very clear that he disagrees with a lot of what the president is doing. One of the things that is profoundly dangerous right now is that the president's narcissism, as usual, is running the show in this crisis. And he doesn't like people who insult him or call out his weaknesses standing around him at press conferences. So the fact that Fauci wasn't there yesterday is not a good sign. Again, Fauci is the only reliable voice fundamentally. I mean, Dr. Birx has been doing some of this, but Fauci is the only real reliable voice coming out of the administration right now. And Birx yesterday had a horrific moment where she had to confront the president saying, when is my press briefing room going to be full again of people desperate and dying to see me and worship me and, kiss the ground I walk on? When, she was on the verge of tears at the start of that press conference while the president was talking about sending people back to work. The absence of Fauci should worry everybody. And I don't know what the fuck we do about it. You know what I mean? Like, we're kind of, I said at the top of the broadcast, I can't come on here today and act like it's all right. It's not. If Fauci gets fired from this, we're in a position where our federal government has literally no reliable advisor at this moment in time on what to do in an epidemic. We're not in a situation right now where there are, dozens of lifetime staff members residing in the CDC who can help to guide this effort or keep the president in line. It is just at this moment too much. Not that it hasn't been too much at a zillion other times in the last 3.5 years, but right now it's just too much. Fauci's absence should worry everyone. The president is doing a 2-hour town hall today on Fox News to get his narcissistic supply met. It's going to get people killed. There is no question at this point. By the way, for those of you who haven't followed this story, there is a couple that swallowed fish tank cleaner in Arizona, where the husband died because they thought that the ingredient, it was the same ingredient in the drug that the president has been recommending. The wife is in intensive care. At this point, allowing the president to go on these fact-checked rants on national television is harming people. It is getting people killed. The fact that Fox News is enabling this yet again is something that we all need to remember when we get through this, from the standpoint of who should be held responsible. Okay, last bit of breaking news this morning so far is that Schumer did speak on the floor of the Senate this morning. McConnell had indicated they were on the 5-yard line for a deal. Schumer got up and said they're on the 2. The anticipation at this moment in time is that there is going to be some kind of a deal that helps out the general public past today, hopefully. Fingers crossed that this does not have some insane amount of money that's just a slush fund that Mnuchin gets to hand out to his friends. At this point, what we really need is direct checks to the American public to support everybody who is in financial dire straits right now. It is just, it's shocking to me that we're 10 days into this process and we still don't have a law. At this point in time, absent some form of financial remediation, we're going to have a lot of people who aren't going to be able to make their rent on the 1st of April, let alone pay for health insurance and everything else that at this moment needs to be handled. So we'll see what that stimulus deal looks like at this point in time. Okay. Like when it passes, which it presumably is going to be today. All right. So let me just say this. Yesterday I spent a fair amount of time on the broadcast talking about, the Grief Bowl and ritual and things that can kind of help to support all of us through this process. Happen in this country in the next 2 weeks. I am sitting here myself with all the resources that I've built over 10 years from the best medical professionals, therapists, counselors, coaches, spiritual advisors that you could imagine that have done work in conjunction with my business, and everyone is overwhelmed. So what I want to say about that is this: if you are in that place, you are not alone. And part of what we're all going to have to do through this process is find ways of processing things that allow all of us to get through it together. There are going to be moments where you will lose your shit. I had one of those moments yesterday where I literally was like, I can't, my son had an allergic reaction that turned out to just be hives related to the onset of a common cold. But literally, I kind of lost my mind for a little while there, standing in the pediatrician's office. For a variety of reasons. And, it's hard. It's really hard to be facing down a federal government that doesn't care about its citizens, with thousands of people getting infected every day, new tests coming up every day, the projection showing that, thousands of people are going to die if the federal government doesn't act like now. It's very hard to process and deal with this. So, the thing I just want to say here is this: we all need to be tapping every resource that we have right now. Okay. And that means Zoom calls with your friends. It means reaching out to your family members. It means not being afraid to call your doctor or your mental health provider if you're really struggling. It means understanding that we are facing down something right now that none of us have ever seen before. And we're not even close to being done with it yet. So I just want to say just a couple other quick things about this. Silence isn't a bad thing right now. It's not a bad thing to turn off the TV and turn off every device and just allow yourself to not have to deal with it for a period of time. I will just also add here that the relief that you get from that does actually help your central nervous system to kind of kick down a couple of notches. It's very critical at this point that we all do that we all take constructive measures to manage the exposure that we have to what is about to become incredibly tragic information. It is not going to be easy for anyone. And the good news is that none of us are in it alone, but I am just, it feels really important to say this. It is not going to be a cakewalk for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We are seeing, the New York Times lost an incredibly prominent former reporter this morning. The David Latt, the founder of Above the Law, which is, an incredible blog for lawyers that's been around for the last 20 years, is still on a ventilator getting experimental drug treatment at NYU Hospital right now. And he's 44 years old, and his husband can't even visit him, and they have a young child. It is just, there's going to be a lot more of this to come in ever increasing volumes until we're through the peak of this. And I just really want to encourage everybody to use your support systems, use them daily, use them face to face and over the phone. Make sure that you are connecting in ways that allow your soul to get fed. And do the things that help you to get through. For some of that's art. For some of us, it's music. For some of us, it's connecting with our children. And playing with Legos or whatever the hell it is that your kids want to do. But please just make sure that honestly, this is a moment to consciously choose the strategies that you are going to adopt to get through this, because you need to have them now. And, I'll just also say this, there have been times in the last 3.5 years where I have recommended writing down your plan. Like, now is a really good moment to write down your strategies, right? Make your list of your coping mechanisms and your survival strategies for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Make a list of them when you're in a good place, so that at the moment where you know that you are breaking from the pressure and the stress of this, you have a list of resources that you can turn to that will help you cope. It's going to be something that we've never seen. And I just, the only thing that I can do at this moment is just pray that there is someone rational in our federal government who listened to Governor Cuomo this morning, because he's doing everything but getting on his knees and begging for help. And the numbers that he is seeing that we have not seen yet are very plainly quite grim. So I just really want to encourage everybody to do what you need to do today, and make that list and do what you need to do over the next couple of weeks. And of course, I will be here. I'm in it with all of you. I have these moments. I'll just be really candid and frank with all of you. I have these moments where I'm cracking and wide open in all of this to be trying to lead in this moment. And yet, this is who I am, and this is where I am. And I feel an obligation to all of you and to this community and to the public and to everybody who has ever been impacted by anything that we've done at the Gaia Project for Women's Leadership, to really try to show up every day, to be here for all of you. And I'm going to keep trying to do that. So I just want you all to know that we're all in this together. All right, that's it for today. That's what I got. And I'm sending everybody a lot of love. I'll just also add the number of COVID diagnoses, even within this community, continues to rise. So please take care of yourselves, and just know that as your family members are impacted and you yourself are impacted, that we're here. That our team is here, that we're watching all of this, and we love you. And we are sending you as much healing and support as we can. And we will continue to do that. Okay. So thank you all, as always, for being here. Thank you for your ongoing support. Thank you for your community and your work, and for your efforts. And I'm just sending you all a lot of love. All right. And I will talk to all of you tomorrow. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.